But that, in my opinion, can be carried on by an agency.
So you're convinced you captured the most important ones in this report?
As far as I'm concerned, I hold the view that every information we receive is important. Even those that were not included, will not be included, is important because it captures the spirit of the people in holding public officials accountable. It captures the spirit of citizen participation. And so I have no preference to which one is more important or which is priority, or I just consider all of them as very important. And we are very grateful to the public for their participation.
Well, the stacks of documents that were presented to the president. Now, help us understand, how did you decide what makes it into the final report and what doesn't make it?
Well, I mean, there were some petitions that were directly presented. Okay, so people walked to a secretariat and handed over petitions. There were some petitions that was also in the public domain. There were some petitions that also came through the email system, especially the early part. So for us, I think the ones that had some sort of an urgent that required urgent attention. For example, if a property has been sold or is claimed to have been sold and is on the verge of demolition, that is urgent, in my opinion. There are some also, if you look at the sum involved, and you could work on it in such a way that as a nation, in this precarious financial position, we could recover that for the benefit of our development. That was considered urgent. So there are a few things that commonsensically said at you for attention. That is not to say that the refugee is always, from my experience, is always very salivating to look at physical things. Okay, physical things, land. Is physical, so people are attracted to it. But I tend to focus on the intellectual test. Intellectual test is more complicated. White-collar crime is more complicated, and they can be 10 times as valuable or as devastating as land. One person can steal 1 billion with the stroke of a pen, and you never see any physical things like you see in land encampments and all of that. So I don't dwell too much on physical, non-physical. I just feel like this is a much broader. Somehow it appears that it's been a little overshadowed by the physical aspect of the land and all of those issues. But this operation will be a lot more bigger to encompass the non-physical items you don't see, or non-physical alleged crimes you don't see.
Okay, so the question I ask, and then I'll go back to you because I want to understand the workings of the committee. You had all these petitions before you. Now you had to choose this information, this one perhaps. We decide not to, even though it's important, we exclude it from the report. This one goes, that one does not go. How did you arrive at those?
So that's what I'm telling you. Remember, in the course of the work, I did speak with you.
Yes. Yes.
And I said that as far as I'm concerned, there are some things that we'll consider as information. There are some things that will probably be a complaint, and some things that ultimately will qualify as a petition. Okay. And it's not to say that information is not important. Perhaps it may lack the detail that you will rely on to say that something like this is happening. It will require a lot more work uh, to be able to establish that something is going on or has gone on. And it may end up being much bigger than a petition, okay, that had documents and attachments and references. So at this point, because we are more of a preparatory stage and we were more or less tasked to receive information from the public, you tend to limit yourself to this and not go into investigating tip-off or investigating information or complaints. But those that come with attachments and a lot more media information tends to catch your attention at this point. But all that information, complaints, will also be investigated, perhaps explored at the law enforcement level. So what I'm saying basically is that some information came in early, so we are not like jumping the email and going back. So we are going step by step to evaluate and review these petitions, and then or petitions or information or whatever. And then over a period of time, it becomes clear what is urgent. So there might be something urgent that is down the line there, or that came in after the report was. Remember that the oral platform is still active. I'm still connected to the email system, so I will still be able to go back there and go into all the emails, for example, in the investigation of substantive issues, you may find that some of the things that you didn't consider important in the email is then linked to something substantial you're doing, and that will give you clarity on something very important. So for me, information, complaints, petitions are equally as important because it can lead you to somewhere that you will never believe. So to answer your question in short, if some information came early, some came late, some may even come after, all of that are important. At this moment, at the end of the commission's report, these were the information that we were able to review. The rest, we can continue with it.
You are an intelligence investigative person.
Yeah.
You are a lawyer, a police officer. So, of course, also from the virtually operational background. Then you have an auditor, a celebrated auditor. And, of course, the politician that was leading you, of course. So you put all that together. And the question that arises is, what you've put forward, are they all from these different points of view, things that can be really pursued and will actually get Ghana results?
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to draw the public's attention, and I can understand why there's a bit of a confusion. It's also because of some of the public statements that have been made. Listen, our work, as contained in the president's appointment, was that oral was to become some sort of a preparatory ground to interface with the public, receive information, complaints, or petitions that may lead, that if processed and investigated, may lead to the recovery of funds that goes to that comes back state looted funds, or expose certain crimes that may have been committed. That was our mandate. Our mandate was not to investigate offenses. Okay, remember that at the time ORA was established, His Excellency the President was President-elect. Okay, he was not President yet. Let's be very clear about that. And so, therefore, the mandate was for us to receive petitions that emanated from the public. So we were like the preparatory ground. The president himself was in transition. He had just been elected. He had his transitional team, and he also wanted to transition into government with his policies. Therefore, ORA was more or less the president-elect team transitioning with the public. You remember that the transitional team is an outgoing government to incoming government arrangement. The president, in his wisdom, understood that whenever corruption happens, the public plays a very key role in unraveling it. And on that specific issue, he decided that he wanted to involve for the first time the public in this transitional interface. Therefore, our mandate was to interface with the public, just as the outgoing government was interfacing with the incoming government on one of his key policies of returning the loot or exposing acts of corruption and crime, economic crimes that may have occurred, that the public have knowledge about. So therefore, at that moment, our mandate couldn't have been to officially investigate acts of corruption and crime. But we were the interface to receive information that may lead to investigations or perhaps even direct retrieval of state assets. And state assets, I mean financial, physical, or whatever. So please understand that despite our diverse backgrounds on the committee, we were not to investigate acts of corruption. We also had the opportunity to answer your question if your question relates to our ability to evaluate information that came from the public. You realize that at some point we decided to validate some of the most serious petitions to be sure that, in fact, these things that this person was complaining about at least is there. Somebody says that CSR bungalows are about to be demolished by a private person, and that very senior scientists have been booted out of their homes to make way for a private interest. At least that is something you can go there and verify. Are there indeed CSR flags? Is it true that CSR scientists have been kicked out of their homes with their families? So those are preliminary validation of the petition, not an investigation. So we limited ourselves more or less to our mandate. Now that the report is out, a lot more work will be done. But as you know, that work has been entrusted to the Attorney General, who fortunately is the supervising ministry of the economic and organized crime, and connected also to the special prosecutor. So this is turning out to be a very nicely framed activity, and I'm sure that after his review, he represents the state. He's the president's attorney and the government's attorney. So whatever he advises is what will eventually lead to either direct prosecution or more investigation or otherwise. So at this point, it is better we look at the second phase of oral, which has more to do with the legal advice from the Attorney General.
And that was where I was coming to, but I was also because this has essentially, so it means that what happens now is out of your hand as the preparatory team, but it is being handed over to the Attorney General. Are you clear on the next step?
I mean, the next step is obvious. And I think the president eloquently stated that yesterday. The next step is that the Attorney General must review all the cases and advise the president and the government, and where he deems fit, allocate those cases for further investigation, either to Eoco, special prosecutor, or some other special agency that he may so advise on. So at this point, yes, you can say that the case.
We'll get Mr. Rebonacha back on the line. And of course, we were just talking about the next stage. Now, they have done their work, and he's explained very vividly how important information is to any investigation, any attempt to fight corruption. Dr. Percy used to say the fastest way to do corruption is sunlight. So it means that you need to reveal to find. So it is, in a way, you must shine some light on it. It's important. Well, sorry we lost you there. You're explaining to us what the next step will be.
So I'm saying that the next step, like I said, as far as oral is concerned, the preparatory team is concerned, this phase comes to an end. It's immediately kicked in when the president handed over the documents to the Attorney General and instructed him to act quickly, and that he was expecting his advice on the way forward. I'm sure you may have heard that after the presentation, there was also a closed door meeting between us and the president and some key members. A few things were discussed there, and so we are all looking up to the president is very clear. He wants action, and he wants action fast, and therefore he's looking forward to the Attorney General to evaluate the cases, give clear legal and strategic directions for the way forward. So the way forward could be more investigations, other direct execution, whatever. So that is a matter of course for the Attorney General. And once he is done, and he decides that some or all the cases need investigations, then he will decide, depending on the law, if it falls within the domain of the economic and organized crime, he will bring it to the economic and organized crime. If it falls within any other specialized agency, then probably it will go there. Or he may decide to set up a task force or joint investigative task force or whatever. We all have to wait for this strategic direction from the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. And he has stated very clearly that he's clear-eyed on these issues, and he is going to work on it as quickly as possible and get the system running.
I am going to read a comment to you before I come to perhaps your possible role. There's Peter Doji, who says, please tell Mr. Raymond. It's a comment I'm reading to you. The name is Piata or Peter. I'm not so sure how the person pronounces it. Says, please tell Mr. Raymond to go to Bimbila to investigate the multi-billion state being built by Nitiu. I guess it's referring to the defense minister. Have you had this type of information when somebody is saying, this guy is building some big house there, you have to go and investigate? Do you get this kind of information? Did you get this kind of information also coming in from the public? How do you treat these ones?
Fine. So, first of all, I thank him for the information. But this is not to say that we know that Bitul is building anything. But if he's indeed building, these are the kinds of information I was discussing to you about. Go here. This has happened. That's it. An email that is like 4 or 5 words. That's it. Somebody can send you one line. Okay, and somebody can send you maybe a one page, and then somebody can send you a petition with documents, with attachments, with all of that. But I always tell people, you remember, I'll tell you a story. During the, I think during the former President Jerry Rawlings' time, there was a story that was done at the Chronicle that said that it was just a center-square story from Daily Graphic. It says that the Speaker of Parliament and some members had flown in the newly acquired presidential jet to South Africa with a nice photograph. That was it. Now, the question was, do we have a new presidential jet? When did we acquire it? How did we acquire it? And did you go to Parliament? What did Parliament say? What are the records? So that led to a very big investigation, and we all know the how important that story became. So I value those information that somebody sends you just one line. This man has an account at this bank with 1 billion in it, in his brother's name. That's it. Nothing more. Okay, so that's why from the beginning I was telling you that there are, and those are not physical things. You see, so the tendency is to overlook it. It's not like a big mansion, as this person is saying, but this is a very clever, layered tip that says that a public officer may have enriched himself, but he has layered the funds through his brother, and the account is lodged in this bank. That is loaded. Okay? And when somebody tells you something like that, it means that he has information. He knows the bank. He knows the officer. He knows the brother. Okay? Or he's probably so scared or does not trust what will happen and is waiting to see if there's action. And then he will come out and give you more information. So from my experience, I treat all of these people as very important sources and assets in investigation. I'm not one of those that says this one is 20 billion, this one is 1 billion, therefore let's focus on each one. There are some investigations that may not even lead to the recovery, but the impact going forward could be substantial. And so it's important that we keep a very open mind about these issues going forward.
In your new role as Deputy Director, Executive Director of Eoco, would you be interested in perhaps carrying out a probe if recommended by the Attorney General into any of this?
Can you come again? I'm sorry.
I'm saying in your new role, would you gladly take up the job of investigating? Maybe all of this is recommended by the Attorney General.
Well, I mean, it's not like I have a choice. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice is our sector minister. And therefore, if he refers a case, so long as it falls within our mandate, I'll be very happy. And when I do, I can promise you a very extensive and robust investigation.
Let me conclude by asking you, do you and Afenyo Maki have a beef or something?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm not even sure whether I've ever met the young man. I've never.
Oh, really?
No, I'm not sure. I know quite a bit about him, but I'm not sure I've ever encountered him.
You know quite a bit. Is it the same information we usually have? Or because when you say when you say you know quite a bit about him, I'm wondering.
I was hoping that you won't catch on that one. Well, let's just say that. Senna, you know me. The things I know in this country, if I was to open my mouth, I'm sure a few things will happen. But listen, let's just keep it there. I know him. I haven't met him. I know a few things about him.
Because I realized during the meeting, I'm going to Blackwa. You mentioned everybody's name but yours.
Well, let's just keep it. Let's just keep it like that. Like I said, yeah. Let's just keep it like that. Maybe he didn't see me, or maybe he forgot.
I see. Quite interesting. And let me conclude by asking you this. This is the, and I'm sure you've heard about those who said this. If you go on X, they are doing this kind of graphics where they put you versus back then. And I'm sure you've seen those graphics over and over again. There's a suggestion that perhaps this you will use as an opportunity to take revenge on people who you felt have wronged you. Is that how you see the position?
No, not at all. And Tana, you know me. I have very strong opinions about things, and I don't hold grudges like that. That I will, because you see what people perceive as a grudge between me and McDonald or anybody is more of people using state power to attack people unjustifiably. And you see my objection to such conduct. If I was doing the same thing, then this is a vicious cycle. So, first of all, Eoco or Oral is not about me. It's about the president of the Republic of Ghana, overwhelmingly voted for by the people of this country to execute a project that touches on the lives of everybody. This is a million times bigger than my personal interest. And so therefore, no, Eoco or Oral has nothing to do with people that are perceived to have hurt me or done anything. That is not to say that I am not hurt by the things that have happened. As you know, my factory was demolished on the basis of very flimsy excuses. I lost millions of dollars there. I've moved on as a person. If that conduct was to be replicated around the country, you can imagine what will happen to all business people. So, yes, this has nothing to do with, and I don't bear anybody any grudge. Therefore, if anything comes to me for investigation, I'm going to investigate it the same way, with the same ethical standards that I will investigate anything else. I do not have enemies. Therefore, any case that comes before me will go through the same lens as any other case. As far as I'm concerned, these things have happened, okay? But what we are dealing with is something much, much bigger than Raymond and his interests. We are looking at a president's national vision. Therefore, it does not fall into the petty Raymond Archer's personal interest. That's not something I'm really looking at. I'm actually surprised, and I'm also at the same time happy for those who believe that those who use political power to attack others and destroy them must also be held through some sort of a lens. I agree with something like that. They say if you seek justice, you must come with clean hands. So, in my opinion, the clean hands will be that if you are held somebody to a certain standard, you must better have a much higher standard. So, if any case comes to me involving anybody, I will look at it squarely, just like the way I will look at any other case. I have no grudge. This thing happened, some of these things happened 2019, that was 5 years ago. I will do my work. It doesn't matter whether I know you or I don't know you. Everything that comes to me will be according to law and according to the ethical standards that is required. So if you are caught in it, it will not be because Raymond made a different law for himself to investigate anything. If you are not guilty, then you don't even have to worry that whether you have enemies or you don't have enemies. If you done something wrong and criminal, you cannot hide under the cloak of, oh, I have been caught because Raymond was my enemy. That is ridiculous. If you have committed a crime, you'll be dealt with according to the same law. It will not be because a new law will be made to deal with your crime. So people should focus more on who has done what, and also require that the same standards that are used for anybody is applied to everyone.
Interesting. Well, thank you. Just that I'm a little surprised because I know you are more about work than about. You're not fixated on money, cash, and all those things.
Yeah.
But boss, millions of dollars lost. You don't bear any grudges?
No. So it is something that I will pursue legally. Okay. It is something that I will pursue legally, and mind you, I find myself in law enforcement. Therefore, those are issues that I believe strongly. Those are issues that I think must be pursued within the legal system. I will pursue that legally, and I will not use my office to try to get justice, because that will be self-serving. And I think that's exactly what the president does not want. But will I pursue justice? Absolutely, yes. If any of those people, so-called people, have cases before Eoco, will I pursue it with the same ethical standards and zeal like I would do with any case? Absolutely, yes. I bear no grudges on that side. I will do my work the law requires, and I will do it to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
my regards to your new beautiful baby. Father of the year. Congratulations.
Thank you. Wish you all the best. Mr. Raymond Acha is Deputy Executive Director, Economic and Organized Crimes Office. Join us in the morning, and very, very interesting conversation. We also love to speak to him on the issues. There are many of you are sending individual cases and asking me to ask him questions on. As you heard, everything they have received, the report is before the Attorney General. The Attorney General is Dominic Kaine. If you followed the event yesterday, immediately after they were done, President